And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. Cast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because I know it's backwards for all you folks that are watching on YouTube right now, but I'm really sick and tired of seeing these chick tracks being left around in stores on shelves, and you don't even have the temerity to put who it was on the backside of it so that we can put blame where it belongs. Nice job, folks. And by the way, part of this is also to follow through with the old adage. Sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host, Shujin, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. Shujin. After that, you're on your own. You should know it by now. I mean, seriously, if you don't know how to spell Tribble, come on. Star Trek's been around for longer than I've been alive. What the hell's wrong with people? Don't answer that. I can't respond to all of it. It'll be really nice. Let me check in on everybody from Midwest, the U.S. I can get away with saying that again properly without worrying. Brigid Fitch has gotten the chance to join us. Good morning. Oh, wait, evening.
Good evening.
And from the right-hand coast, where all is still known, UnrenownedTech, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, and
I have coffee.
Well, yeah. See, he's got coffee, orange juice, and I didn't even.
You've also got Tang as a backup.
I do, although I haven't made any.
No, but you have emergency Tang packets.
I do, but there's a problem with those. They don't come with their own measuring scoop. And I don't seem to be able to find mine.
That's what a teaspoon and a glass of water are for. And you keep adding until it tastes right.
No, because I'm just going to
make... That's what I did as a kid.
Because I'm just going to make a gallon of it and just be done.
Ooh.
Anyway, so yes, I just have straight orange juice. And yeah, Brigid, sorry, kind of talked over you there. I didn't check in with you. What do you got to drink?
Sprite.
You could do worse.
Did you say Sprite?
Mm-hmm.
Could do worse.
So you can, if you take Sprite and vanilla bean ice cream, you can make a float that is, people look at it and go, that's not a float. And then they try it and it's like, that's actually surprisingly pretty tasty and refreshing. It's even better if you use 7-Up instead of Sprite, but yes, it works. Yes, you can shake your head all you want, but I've recommended it to people. They've tried it and they've enjoyed it.
Well, I prefer those over ones made with Coke, so there you go.
Yep.
You know what? All right. That's what it is. You guys can enjoy what you like.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. If you don't like it, I'm not going to tell you have to drink it. Jeez.
I am, however, going to say anybody that wants to go ahead and drink Pepsi. Well, first off, I've got words about that in and of itself. But Pepsi with peanuts dropped in it, you're wrong, and we'll just leave it at that. So, hi, good morning, everybody. It's good to be back with you. Yeah, sorry about last week. Without giving any information, I will simply say is that last week was not a good time for me to be on the air, so I wasn't. Which then means that kind of we didn't have a show at all. So,
all right. Let's clear the air here. If anybody's upset that he was on the air last week, you can yell at me. Seriously, go ahead, call our number, leave me a scathing voicemail. I dare you. Because it was my guidance that told him not to do the show.
Yeah, it was ultimately my call. But if you'd like to go ahead and leave him a message, 859-428-8554. Have fun with that. You can, that's kind of the way that it works.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I take the blame because I know I can be persistent.
Whatever.
And persnickety.
So,
and perplexing.
Thanks for being with us. It's good to be back with you.
I'm trying to think of other words that begin with P now.
Over the live chat, thank you guys for being with us. And yes, I know my video, I have not yet been able to figure out how to flip it because Logitech stupid whatever. Oh, again, over in the live chat. Fearless, you made it. Hi. I'm assuming that you didn't burn yourself on anything this weekend. I didn't ask about last weekend. I should have. I didn't. My own fault. Stephanie, good morning. God save his Word document. I don't know. Whatever the hell it is. And Seeker, good morning. You got here early for a change. That's cool. Good to see you. How the hell you doing? Don't answer that. I don't really care. You're here. That's all that matters. You're bumping my numbers up. Got rookie numbers. Thanks for changing. Appreciate it. Anyhow, yeah. So it's going to be an interesting because as I told Brigid before we got started, I know what my opening is, but after like the first 30 seconds or so, I'm going to be kind of flying blind. So I haven't done it quite like this in a long time. It is fair to say that this week is kind of taking a toll. But, there are good things that are coming and things that are going to be changing, which, as a matter of fact, I think is where it's going to work into trying to work things over for me for this opening. So let me go ahead and get that started, and then I can kind of fill you in without filling you in as to what's going on. So with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle starts now. RIPTIDE. Now, there are some people that are old enough to remember when that was the name of a television series. Wasn't very good. That's immaterial. RIPTIDE is an outdated term. However, when I was growing up on Long Island, right near the ocean, RIPTIDE was a very important term to know. Now it's typically called a rip current, otherwise known as an undertow. Those of you that don't know, if you go to a beach, usually with a large body of water, could be a lake, doesn't happen quite as often, but with an ocean beach, oh yeah, this happens a lot. And as a matter of fact, since, like I said, I grew up on Long Island, you kind of have to worry about these things. And what that is, a RIPTIDE, a rip current, is a phenomenon that happens where the ocean water, for lack of a better way of putting it, tries to vacuum you out to sea from the beach. I don't know how better to describe it. It is a very localized section where the waves come in, the waves go out. We can explain that because the rip current, the RIPTIDE, kind of falls in between them, and a very narrow band just grabs the water and pulls it back in. Now, the problem of it is, anything that's inside of that kind of gets pulled along. Kind of like with, a vacuum cleaner, or as they say over there in the aisles, a Hoover. And anything that's in the way of air gets sucked in. Same premise. Well, the thing of it is, it's very easy to panic when you're swimming and this ends up happening to you, because when you're swimming, especially if you're swimming in the at an ocean beach, you've got the beach, in front of you typically, and all of a sudden you're very quickly moving farther and farther and farther away from it. And for those of you that have never been to an ocean beach, the beach, your footing is okay, and you're up to your knees, up to your thighs, and then all of a sudden it just drops off and you're just floating. Best case scenario. And you can get pulled out really quickly. Really, really quickly. But the panic part sets in because you're getting pulled further and further away, and you try to swim away from it, which is normally what you'd expect to do, except that that's the wrong thing to do. You fight it. You turn sideways. You swim cross-hatched to it to get away from that very narrow band. Because once you're away from that, pardon the expression, it's smooth sailing. and then you can get yourself back onto shore and calm yourself down and, well, now the reason why I wanted to use this expression, because A, summertime's coming up. People are going to start going to the beaches, and I need to remind everybody to be very careful about it because, the oceans do not care one whit about your need to, breathe. But there's a situation that I've seen where somebody got pulled, figuratively speaking, really, really hard through no fault, sort of their own. They got pulled. The ins and outs of it all right now really are immaterial, but it happened. And panic sets in. You don't know what to do. You flail. You call out for help from anybody, everybody, in the hope that somebody is going to go ahead and they're going to help you out some way or other. When all you really need to do is to turn sideways and deal with the problem by getting out of the problem. It's a weird thing to think about. Because talking about it in physical terms of swimming, yeah, that's easy. Talk about how to do that with life, with what happens to you. Not as easy. But sometimes that's what you need to do. Turn sideways and try to find your way through. Just know that if you guys out there ever are in of an assist, we're out here for it. Now, this is not part of the opening, but we've had an open standing thing over on our Discord channel, which you can find in the show notes if you ever want to join us. That if somebody is in need of a voice, we've got a channel specifically set up for that. I need a voice. You just type over in there, just type @here, and just say, hey, anybody around to talk to? We'll be there. We may not be able to be there instantly, but if you need somebody, please always remember, we'll always do our best to try to be there for you. Don't ever think that you're alone with us around, okay? So let's keep that in mind. Anyway, as a real quick, great, Fearless. Splash boiling water on my fingers. Nice. Don't do that.
Can I inject real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so to those of you who are listening, either now or in the future, if you happen to be on the beach, because like I live by the water, I've visited the water, even though I didn't grow up by it a lot, ocean water that is, and everything else. If you see somebody getting dragged out and you've made eye contact with the person, and it looks like they're panicking, that they don't know what they're doing, they're swimming towards the beach, they're getting carried out. If you're not a strong swimmer, or you don't think you can get to them because you really don't want to jump into that, start pointing either left or right and running sideways in that direction if you can, or just moving very quickly, and keep emphasizing with your hands in that direction to see if you can trigger in their head to go that way, preferably towards the direction that's closest to the lifeguard. So if the lifeguard's to your right, point to the right and go in that direction, right?
Correct.
And that way they'll see you moving to the right and pointing to the right, and that might actually get through their panic. No guarantees, but if you're not a strong swimmer, you're not comfortable doing that, you're not trained for that kind of thing, that's one of the safest things you can do and still actually help, instead of like offering thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, and sideways to that, if you have a business card, if you do not have a business card that says licensed lifeguard, you do not step one toe into the water to help somebody, ever. ever. Please keep that in mind.
And if you plan on moving or spending a lot of time near the ocean, or just you like helping people in general, consider taking courses to go get CPR training.
Mhm.
You'd be surprised that one time may actually come in really handy. And plus, if somebody gets a bug in their butt after they've been saved, you can go to and decide court. You can look up and go to the judge. Look, I did it by the book. Here's my card. Okay, see ya.
That definitely.
It does.
So how about we get things rolling? Because, well, you guys missed out on it last week. Probably a good idea to go ahead and give you all the horrible scopes for this week. So,
Ooh, sci-fi.
it is time for those horrible scopes. If you know what your astrological sign is, cool. Those that don't, it doesn't matter. Roll a d12. Hey, by the way, if you know of a dye manufacturer that would like for us to go ahead and mention them once in a while, to point them our way, because, you know, that'd be really nice to be able to do that for somebody, because, you know, there's some really pretty dice out there. Keep that in mind. This week, your topic, since nobody gave me a topic, is sci-fi transportation. Some of these are going to be more well-known than others, so they say sit back and enjoy the ride. And I'm going to tell you, there is one mode in here that I'm really sad I forgot about, because I started thinking about it as like the inspiration for this whole thing, and then I completely forgot about it by the time I got done. I'll tell you which one it was afterwards. Aries, you get to start things off with 1979's Star Trek The Motion Picture and its updated warp nacelles. The sleek new lines of the LN64 Model 3 linear warp drive nacelles is a thing of beauty. They just take us to the final frontier. So long as the dilithium matrix holds up, or the magnetic bottles, or some other delicate technobabble thing. So long as everything stays right and doesn't fall apart, everything's. They're pretty. They're really pretty. I like them all.
I would just like to say that I absolutely adore the nerds, the geeks that gush over the different warp engine and nacelle designs throughout all the history of Star Trek. I mean, these are people who go and get like the actual blueprints that, you know, was produced for this stuff. And I think it's just the coolest thing. I really do.
Let's see.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Yeah, but this is a fan built thing, and it's got everything.
And I bet it's great. I bet it's fantastic.
It's
No
just,
pun intended.
It's just amazing. It's not focusing, but you know what? It's all good.
It's the blur effect that's causing it.
I'll shut up.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just really cool to sit there and listen to them talking about warp engine designs. I'm going, they're having an argument over the pros and cons of a fictitious engine. This is great. I love it. It's just, and I'm not laughing at them to make fun of them. I'm laughing because I'm enjoying the back and forth and everything.
I can't say anything about it because remember, I got one of these, so you know.
You were here before me.
Taurus, how about something that just works without not even trying to explain it? Based on the 1954 Ford concept car, the X Atmos, simply known as the flying car that folds up into a briefcase that a desk-bound normal man can lift because screw conservation of mass. The Jetsons' flying car looked just like everyone else's. And why not? It was a design that worked, gave everyone a clear view of the skies, and had a Bombay door to get rid of any annoying family members. This week, give your mother-in-law a plane ticket to Hawaii. Just one way, though. She can find her way home if she really wants to get back.
I don't want to tell you how old that.
Gemini, Also based on a real-life transport system, Futurama's transport tubes doesn't bother with putting human into cans before sucking them through pneumatic tubes. Hell, you don't even have any kind of lubrication. Imagine what kind of road rash you'll get traveling through those things and getting your arm against the glass. This week, find some unsuspecting stranger and tell them about the time you got rung burns in college. Uh, Side note, Futurama has taught us anything. Do not confuse a phone booth for a suicide booth. One is painful, the other allows you to make calls.
Well, kind of hard to feel pain once you're dead. So.
Well, Bender selected the slow, agonizing, torturous death button.
And
Fry survived, I might add.
And I mean, let's also face it. Phone booths could be run by Sprint, so yeah, there is pain.
Better than having them run by Verizon. Did I say that out loud? Excuse me.
Cancer Moonchild, the worst part about your system is the fight that'll happen once we tell you what it is. Want to talk about nerd culture? Here's your nerd culture. Is it pronounced at, or AT-AT? Either way, the Star Wars all-terrain armored transport looks like a gritty reboot of Dynamut Dog Wonder, as if he was resized for Gulliver. This week, you don't know who Dynamut or Gulliver are, do you? They're both available in cartoon form. Go watch some TV.
I love Dynamite.
Leo, back-to-back Star Wars tech gives us the fabled hyperdrive system. Get out your galactic sextant, figure out your destination, plot out all the stars between you and your destination, draw a line that avoids all those gravity wells, then slip between the folds of reality itself. See? So simple, even a Wookiee can do it. This week, let the Wookiee win.
So is good advice, right?
Yeah, you don't want to get your arms ripped off. Virgo, don't think we're done with Star Trek just yet. You get the incredibly philosophically debated suicide box, aka the transporter room. The technical explanation says each atom is scanned, disassociated, sucked up, then reconstituted, dropping off whomever or whatever at its destination. The question is, are you killed by the process and a perfect replica recreated of you at the end? Is the transporter system ethical? How would you know if you were killed by one if all you knew was the memories literally up until your body was killed, but your consciousness activated in a new body? This week, put your philosophy degree to good use. Hope that keeps you up at night.
Yeah. This is where the meat puppet argument comes from. Go ahead and look that one up, people.
There was also a lady who did a video where she did a cartoon animation of the first creation of a transporter, not Star Trek, but similar technology. And the scientists argued that the person at the receiving end was the original, even though the original was destroyed. And so she tricked the scientists into removing the destruction portion, because what his was doing was copying everything, rebuilding, and suddenly there were two of them, and then they started arguing about who is the original, and oh yeah, it was fun. It basically turned it into a clone porter instead of a transporter.
Well, that did happen once, but we're not going to get into Star Trek Next Generation lore right now. Not the artificial type. Libra, back to matter transmission systems, you get the teleport system from Blake 7.
Oh man, that was so good.
Good old BBC One didn't bother with much in the line of special effects budgets, which we'll see again, so they just made it simple. Stand in place, make sure you have the special ingredient, and you're instantly blipped from place to place, as opposed to Star Trek system of breaking down each molecule. This week, take Avon's statement to heart. I'm not expendable, not stupid, and I'm not going.
I don't care who you are. If you have not seen Blake 7, find a collector's edition set of the entire series and watch it. Whatever you have to do, watch it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The ending kind of sucked at the end of the series. It was too abrupt.
Yeah, but at the same time, in universe, it made perfect sense.
Yeah, no,
It was just
it really did.
very unhappy for it. But, you know, that's a whole other thing. And by the way, Avon's statement, I'm not expendable, I'm not stupid, I'm not going, has got to be one of the absolute badass statements of you know, from any character.
I was laughing when I first heard it.
It was great.
Scorpio. Sideways from the Beeb, we have ITV's The Tomorrow People. Think of it as the X-Men, the next evolution of humanity, Homo superior, only they can't kill. Plus, they can teleport themselves through psionics and really crappy special effects in a method they call jaunting. Even with this near instant travel, the students in the group still manage to be late to school consistently. This week, leave an extra 15 minutes earlier than you normally would.
You know, I haven't watched The Tomorrow People yet.
Please,
I will eventually sit down and do it.
Remember, if you're looking for The Tomorrow People, 1970, don't go looking for anything other than 1970 something. Because if you find the one from 1990, you're gonna have a bad experience.
I'll keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I haven't scanned through the entire list yet, but I can think of one that you probably didn't get, and that's from a series by Anne McCaffrey.
That's one that didn't even come to my mind, but I'll tell you at the end which one I forgot.
Okay. Sagittarius. Gotta hit BBC one more time. How could we forget the Gallifreyan TARDIS? Grown like a bit of trans-dimensional coral, the TARDIS always has more and more room on the inside, unlike your own home. The main console is a hexagon, meaning it's supposed to be flown by 6 people. But what you gonna do when you're on the run after being named Lord President of a whole damn planet? This week, memorize this hex color code. Pound 003 Delta 6 Bravo. You're welcome.
Have fun pulling that one up. I'm sure you're going to do that in a little bit. Capricorn, a little closer to home. How about the best damned pickup truck on the move? The Space 1999 Eagle Transporter. 4 massive fusion engines at the back, arrowhead cockpit in the front, an exposed grid backbone on top, and replaceable midsections for anything from medical use to nuclear waste electromagnets. This week, remember, if you're playing D&D and your party gets trapped underground with no air, have your shape-shifting party member turn into a plant to keep you all alive just a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Aquarius. 2 words. Space elevator. Yes, this is based in reality, but the idea of bolting an asteroid into geostationary orbit over the equator. I'm sorry, but the idea that something will break that tether and fling whatever at the top into the void is just too terrifying to consider. This week, do the water bottle hanging from a ceiling fan challenge and learn how to win from WOPR.
Now, to be the other side of the coin, I'm actually in favor of a space elevator, but we have to really get a grasp on our carbon nanochains technology to make it a reality. Our carbon nanotubes. Pisces, about as out there as we can come up with, the transhumanist idea of mind uploading. Think about the Star Trek transporter system, only without killing the original body. Only you wake up as part of a computer system. Maybe with optical sight, maybe with senses we can't even conceive of yet. You'll join the likes of Arnim Zola from Marvel, who did just that to himself in the 70s. Imagine that, a Hydra scientist's mind running on an old reel-to-reel computer drives. At least you can get put on an M.2 stick. This week, speak nicely to your smart devices. They just might remember later. Oh, and when I was starting to read this, when you were talking about transhumanism of mind uploading, I was actually thinking of what was that movie? That was a book series. Oh God, they found the alien tech metal, and they made these things you stick in his spine, and it captures your entire consciousness. And so when you die, you take the pucks out and you just put them in a new vat-grown body, and you're uploaded. And so you can upload from uh, another star system.
How wild.
I forget what it was called. I read the books long before there was movie, and then the movie series came out on Netflix. And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it.
That's okay.
It
And
was an amazing trilogy too.
and the one transporting system that I'd completely forgot to write in there, although I kind of started with it as the thought, whatever it was that the Spacers Guild used to use in Dune. That was the one that first came to my mind and completely blew past me, and is what it is.
Yeah, that's actually done by a human being, though. It doesn't look human. It doesn't look human.
See.
It's been a human that's evolved and morphed by the spice to create those. They are the living drives themselves, because Dune outlawed computers in the history of in humanity's history. In Dune, we ended up making our computers so intelligent, so smart, and essentially sentient, that we ended up going to war with them. I don't know if they started it first or what, according to the series, but it was such a bad war that the entire human species created laws that we would no longer create machines that would do human thinking. So there were literally, you would genetically manipulate humans to become mathematicians, living organic calculators. Their job was to stand there and do the kind of math that if we were to use today's computers, it would take years to calculate, and they would do it in seconds. Because the human mind's capable of so much.
This is why I'm glad I didn't do it now, because there are a bunch of people I know full well that be upset with me. Those are your horrible scopes for this. Remember, if you like what you got, nerd. I'm gonna get away with that because I enjoyed them and I wrote them. So, however, if you'd like something nicer or naughtier for yourself or someone else, all you need to do is get in touch with me and I'll see what I can do. I'll have these posted at the end of the week. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, because, you know, that's what I do, and you can read them up afterwards. Think of it this way. Without even paying for it, as basically just kind of getting the whole Patreon version of it, you know, a week before everybody else gets to read it, which is kind of nice. I need to notice over in the chat, because I didn't want to do it while we were doing the scopes. I wanted to do this. Wesley, you're a troll. You are an absolute gold mine. You are an absolute adorable little summer child, because you don't even have in any way the stones to just stick around and find out what we would have to say to you. So why have I not gone ahead and removed the stuff from the chat? Because I wanted an opportunity for people to be able to see what it was that you did, to be able to hear the words coming out of my face, because of all things that I could have possibly hoped for coming back after a week's off, you you, my lovely little darling summer child of absolute ineptitude, you've decided to grace us with 15 seconds of your copy and pasted life. We who have no care whatsoever about your well-being at this point, because you obviously don't care about ours.
I kind of care because I think there's something mentally wrong with this person. What they put in there doesn't even relate to any way, shape, or form anything that's been said. It's just a kind of here's where I live, city and state, and here's my name, and um, a blanket statement about the King James Bible, which that's not a. Honestly, I've read the King James Bible. I've read several versions of the Bible, and the King James Bible. That's not something I would brag about. Honestly, I would probably go into if that's your favorite Bible, you should probably sit quietly in the corner, and try reading a different one, and then watch your mind get blown by contradictions and missing statements and the edits. And yeah, that's not something to brag about. You're kind of that's a bad flex.
Plus, we know full well this person, no way in hell they're still hanging around. We know full well. As a matter of fact, let me take a look at this. According to this, we currently have 4 viewers. Oh, so it is entirely possible that they are still watching and hoping and enjoying by stroking themselves over the fact that we've actually taken just a few moments to acknowledge their presence. What I can say for you, Mr. Curry the second, is that the pretentiousness of you popping over in here and copy and pasting 15 seconds worth of your time is only just mildly dwarfed by the fact that you have an account name that you've written up with what could be an actual proper name using the second instead of perhaps Junior. The designation that I shall decide I will use for you forevermore. Because, Junior, you absolutely do not stack up enough to be part of this. You are... let's see, do I have a... Oh, I have an option to go to channel, pin message, report the message. You know what? The first one I will simply remove.
Yeah, I think we should remove the first one where he actually says where he lives, because his handle
too
says
late.
his name.
Too late. Too late. Other people will have seen it by now. So anybody that wants to read it, you can go back.
Oh, that's right. You've got it going through the video. I'm sorry. I'm actually thinking about protecting this idiot, and here we are. Oh crap.
Well, it's streamed out there. So anybody that wants to go back a few minutes and read what they said about where they live, I wouldn't put too much into that. But you know what? I can't stop people from looking it up, and because Google Foo is a really amazing thing. The second message, by the way, the second message is all caps. Will you say? Oh wait, let me do it this way. Will you say, Jesus, I sin against you when I do not read the chapters of the King James Bible every day. 2 chapters of the Old and 2 chapters of the New Testament. It is the square pit in the dream. There's no punctuation or anything at that. It just stops. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like maybe the cut and paste didn't allow as many characters. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
But it just kind of seems like, hey, dude, can you try making a more coherent sentence? Oh, well, that probably was coherent for that person.
Ooh, I could set them as a moderator. Ooh, guess what I'm not gonna do?
I'm already a moderator. By the
That's
way,
all right.
Altered Carbon. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I've seen that.
Mm-hmm. So you remember that true death only occurs when somebody doesn't get
that disc back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have to give Stephanie kudos on this one, who commented, I bet he does not even know that it was created to please King James the Sixth of Scotland, first of England and Wales. Would it matter? All they were looking to do is have their 5 minutes in the sun. And you know what?
And he gave him more than that by
Because
everything.
if there's one thing that I know how to do as an Italian, it's to speak with my hand. And I know exactly how to do it properly. I need to change out the bottom because it is that time. Episode 449 on the docket, Your Honor. So next week is Power 10. Get ready for that one. Potluck to pass.
I won't be here.
I don't know what to talk about. Like I said, this week has, I had a lot on my mind. I just had a lot on my mind. So it really took me for a tizzy because there's a lot of stuff that's been happening. And there's a lot of stuff in the news that we could go ahead and talk about. There's a lot of stuff that, I don't want to, but I know we probably should comment on it. So we're just basically gonna, pick up a dish to pass and back and forth with each other and kind of work it from there. I think it's only fair for me to go ahead and start off by saying, hey, Mr. Former Guy, probably would have been really good for you to show up at your own trial, maybe, to show that you actually care about stuff. But there's probably a really good reason why he didn't. I bet you his lawyer told him, stay away. You don't come anywhere here, because if you're here, you're going to ask to take the stand. And if that happens, you will lose. Although, actually, come to think of it, that probably wouldn't change anything anyway. So, hey, Former Guy. Anybody that follows you at this point knows full well that a sexual molester and probably a rapist is the head of their political party. I believe the expression that we're looking for here is, and Brigid, help me out on this one, is the correct term that we're looking for here, on brand. Is that the word that I'm looking for here?
Well, I mean, we all kind of knew that anyway.
Yeah, but it's different from knowing it as opposed to legal processions. And, well, that's legally, we can legally get away with saying that now. Because you go ahead and you say somebody is a serial rapist. I mean, it's kind of hard to back that up if anybody were to come after you to say that you're slandering them. Right, slander is spoken. Libel is in print. You'd think I'd actually remember this because I like Spider-Man. So now we can all get away with saying it because legally it's come down through the courts. So way to go, guy. Way to go.
Unfortunately, it was only a civil suit, so it's not going to keep him from becoming a president. Again.
Not yet. But we know full
that
well.
That alone can't stop him
No.
Because it's only a civil suit.
No. But remember, how did they get Capone?
Yep. Taxes. See, that's like I've said, you don't mess with the IRS. That's why I was always been surprised that the churches keep messing with the IRS, because there's going to be a day where the IRS says, we're not taking this crap anymore. And a lot of churches are going to shut their doors. Not the good churches. Not like the church down the street from me that barely keeps the roof holes patched because they take all their money and they actually put it into buying clothes and feeding food and everything else, versus, having a big plasma screen TV with a $25,000 sound system,
Yeah, there's
like the church that's being built about an hour from down the road. Well, I live in the southern part of my state, so
fair enough. Yeah, and Stephanie's also pointing out they're both now defamation. Yeah, well, it's something. The point is, every house of cards has to be, ticked at slowly, carefully, because I don't know where I'm going on that one. I thought I had a good whatever. So yeah, I'm glad to see that that finally came through. I'm sorry that it had to happen in the first place, but we'll take it. We'll take what we get right about now, and that's really good there.
By the way, TP Sync, that, damn it, rented lips.
You're not allowed to
put-
do that in the United States. Some areas of Canada, I think you can. But
Okay, I put it in chat, the link.
doesn't help
But
me.
TP Seeker had mentioned a dice channel called Hedron Rockworks, crafting an amethyst D20. And so I looked up the page, and then I clicked on the gallery, and I am looking at these dice, which are just absolutely so he crafts this stuff by hand. He takes like the actual stuff, jasper and so on, and he's handcrafting D20s and such out of them. Well, looks like mostly just D20s, and they are beautiful. This is dice eye candy, is what this is. Oh my gosh.
Oh, sorry, I had a message come up. I had to take care of.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Jasper, tiger's eye, pink granite, rose quartz. Yeah, rose quartz makes beautiful dice. So does tiger's eye, as long as it's nice and wow, these are clean.
Yeah, tiger's eye is a beautiful stone, but I have my personal biases, so we'll go with that. My personal bias is because
yeah, the guy's dice start at $1,200 and goes up depending on the complexity of the cut and the material. And I'm like, yeah, you're making that by hand. You're buying an art piece. This is what you call functional art, folks.
okay, that's a little out of my price range, but okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I've paid for really good, expensive dice that were incredibly. The only way to get dice more well balanced is to like have them made in space, where gravity doesn't affect them much during the creation process.
That's fair.
So, but yeah, this is like one of the flashlights that I saw a while back. That's like $2,000. It's functional art.
Fair enough.
This is not something. Yeah.
We'll look it up. I will see about looking later. And
I'll tell you what, if I ever play and win the lottery to the point of where all my bills in the future and everything else is paid for, I'm contacting that guy.
And have a set sent to Will Wheaton with the hope that it would break the dice curse.
Well, it's only a D20, so yeah.
Yes. One can hope that it would break his dice curse.
What's interesting is he's got 4 different versions of the D20: a standard, a bevel, the pentagon cut, and a star cut, and he gives rotating examples, animations, and it's really neat. I never really paid attention to that before. I got to look at I got to pull out my dice again and go through my collection and see what I have besides standard cut, because I'm willing to bet I got some funky ones in there too.
Fair enough. Through this past week or two, I should say, there've been a number of laws that have been pushed through, and I say that because they have gone through in a lot of states where
Screw you, Florida.
The electorate is very much not representative of the populace for, let's just call it what it is, gerrymandering. So I think it's probably good for us to hit a couple of these. Brigid, there are a number of these from various different states, not too very far from your own, as I recall. There anything in particular that you want to hit in this particular arena?
As far as gerrymandering,
Well, the laws that have been come down that have been very much not of the get government out of the individual person's life, old style GOP small government ideal.
well, I mean, there are some states around me that are gerrymandered to hell, including my own.
But I'm thinking about
But
things like, limits
throwing
on.
votes out.
Well, kind of get to that in a little bit. I was very more specifically thinking of stuff about, human reproduction rights and the ability to people to dress however the hell they want to and perform in an otherwise perfectly acceptable G-rated setting.
I mean, that covers it all pretty much.
Well,
Can't really elaborate more than that.
well, sure you can. That's what you think about it, and well,
There's
hell,
a whole lot of states that I will not be moving to, put it that way.
well, yeah, you'd much prefer to move to a province.
Well, yeah. Hopefully a warm one.
I don't know about that.
Well, I don't want to go to Nana, but
There aren't too many people that do. There aren't too many dogs either, come to think of it. Huskies, though. Huskies are dumb enough that they would want to go. Just so they can
well,
sit
yeah,
outside, just
they-
curl up and just, I don't want to come inside. Leave me alone. It's not cold enough.
yeah, they've got the fur for it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so what I'm driving at is that over the last couple of weeks, there have been a number of states where the the limits on when abortions can happen have been lowered. I think the highest week listing that I've seen so far was, and I forget which state it was, like 8 weeks. Memory serves, Texas was like 6, but something else, was it Wisconsin or something like that, where there's like a band that's trying to go in from 8 weeks and people are trying to figure out what the hell it all means. Am I thinking of the right? Am I thinking even of the right number of weeks at this point?
I don't know. 8 doesn't ring any bells, but I haven't been keeping up with it either.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't expect us all to, so not gonna get you on this one. 4 minutes till lunch. There's a launch going on. What did I miss?
Had no idea.
Jack, you've been busy typity. What launch are we talking about here?
I don't know. I was typing in chat to TP Sinker. Let's see. What is today? Today is 14th. I'm seeing NASA events for May 16th. Is this not a? Is this maybe a European thing or another country?
I don't know.
Come on, TP.
Yeah, fill us in.
Yeah. Are you launching like your own rocket, TP?
I expect not. I mean, why be,
Oh, Starlink.
Oh. Okay.
Starlink launch schedule of 2023.
Yeah, you go ahead. You figure that out for a minute. Yeah, so number of states doing more on the whole thing with abortion rights, and there are some areas where people are just not having, and they're storming. I don't, storming might not be the right word for it, but they're making their voices heard by traveling to state houses and telling these people, no, cut it the hell out. I may be paraphrasing this a little bit, but then the other states where they are also trying to put into place limits on things like drag story time hour stuff. And it's like, why? Because there are some trumped up, made up stories that the 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 transvestites, yes, the words that they'll keep using, are out there grooming the kids to make them, well, see, that's where it starts breaking down, because it's like, make them what? Make them what? Go ahead.
Yeah, they call them. They don't say how. They just call them pedophiles.
Yep.
And when somehow magically, because a man in a dress has read Good Night Moon to a kid, that will somehow sexually confuse or sexually molest the kid. Unlike the priests, who are not drag queens, who have sexually molested children for thousands of years,
Well, arguably the
that the church
Catholics
has been
are,
coming up.
you know, it is arguable the Catholic wear dresses. Well, I mean, they still wear, pants under it, but I mean, these long, flowy robe kind of,
Yeah.
muumuu kind of thing. Say,
But I will say this: if any one particular group has, a claim for the most pedophiles in their group, hands down, that's the religious. There are more religious pedophiles than agnostic, atheist, or uncertain, or than any of the nons groups. And I say religious because it doesn't seem to be only the Catholics. There's Christians, there's in the Jewish community, there's in the Muslim community. All those religions have a high degree of pedophiles.
and I think
So
I think it's also fair for us. The problem is not relegated in any way sense of the term exclusively to religious groups. It is wherever there is a power dynamic.
agreed. Like the recent coach that got arrested and thrown in jail because he was convincing his students to lay down and cuddle with him, spoon, which is, you tell me, the coach who's getting kids to spoon with him, or the drag queen reading, Good Night Moon to a kid, which one's the pedophile? It's not the drag queen. So I'll let you figure out the other part. Although I know there are plenty of people who, after I say it's not the drag queen, will say, "Oh, I'm guessing the drag queen," because they obviously didn't pass 5th grade.
If you want to complain about somebody reading a go to sleep book to kids,
No. I know where you're going. Don't do it. That is a great video. I don't care who you are. That is freaking fantastic. It's hilarious. Even my cats like it.
Put a link to it in the show notes.
Joseph, I
Hey,
didn't see
Joe.
that you were there. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late.
No worries. So yes, from okay, now there's the big question: are you currently in Paris, or are you back out at the well, hiding out somewhere else in the further out somewhere.
I'm still in Paris for the
Okay.
time being. Could be moving soon
Fair enough.
to the suburbs.
Put your name up. Good to have you back. We missed you.
Well, I missed you guys too. I'm just sorry these past weeks have been pretty hectic.
Completely understandable.
So I'll be moving probably midway between Paris and the castle.
Fair enough.
1 hour each direction.
Good to have you back. And just in time too, because about to slide over to something that Stephanie had pointed out, which unfortunately is not an upbeat topic, and I'm not even going to try to make it an upbeat topic. The fact that here in the States, we have basically had at least one mass shooting per day for the calendar year so far. So I have to ask. I have to kind of put you on the spot. So, Joseph, how many mass shootings have made the local newspapers there in France?
Oh,
And just a quick reminder for our audience, mass shootings in the U.S. is typically indicated as having at least 4 people involved. Not
Okay.
necessarily death, just shootings.
do insults count?
Unless they're accompanied by a muzzle velocity of about 800 feet per second.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we have a lot of irony here.
Does your irony carry kinetic force?
No, irony without the iron.
So you have re.
Hmm?
E. You have E. Irony. No
Uh,
irony.
yeah, yeah. That was kind of the joke.
Kinda.
I have a lot of passive aggressiveness too.
You don't say. Sorry. Couldn't help it.
One of the few things that was ever imported from England that actually improved things in France. The level of passive aggressiveness. But
oh
so
my God, feelings were hurt, huh?
So it sounds
Every day.
Sounds like the number is exceptionally low.
Yeah. So, question for you about what was going on in France with the strikes and everything.
Oh God.
How many people were shot by the police with bullets? How many people were strangled to death, either by hand or with their knees?
Hey, slow down. Let them
I'm
get
just
at
wondering,
least one answer in first.
Yeah. How many people were killed by the police?
It's the same answer for all questions. 0.
So nobody was killed by any police during all the striking?
No.
Did anybody kill the police during the striking?
No. But quite a few officers were wounded.
Oh, by guns?
No, by guns. No.
Oh, tear gas canisters coming out of basically the equivalent of a grenade launcher, right?
No, rocks.
Rocks.
Yeah.
Just rocks?
Yeah.
No
I was at a couple of the demonstrations, and it got pretty heated. And yeah, the most panicking gun was by the police. It was really, really strange to watch because I hadn't been at a manifestation. That's not a demonstration or protest or whatever. But yeah, I hadn't been at one for a while. And just you're walking down the street and like all around you have the police in their full helmet and gear. Pretty disciplined, but pretty high tension. But they're doing all sorts of this. The commander giving orders. All right, move forward, move back, and like people walking down the street are kind of looking at them and going, "What the fuck are you guys doing?"
So how many people were shooting into the crowd because they were afraid for their lives?
Yeah.
Nobody was shooting into the crowd?
Nope.
Just innocent by
Just gas canisters.
gas canisters.
Well, the tear gas. So the police
from the
firing
police?
tear gas. Yeah.
Hmm.
And there were a few protesters who had tear gas canisters of their own, and they were checking them at the police.
What about people being
Nope.
shot because they were trespass going across the lawn or something? Were any people shot crossing through
No.
somebody else's yard?
You'll be hard pressed to find a lawn in Paris.
Oh, okay.
There's that.
I've
So
never been to Paris.
let's pause right there for a couple of seconds because there's a couple of snarky things I need to do. Item one, Brigid, yeah, Paris and France in general starting to sound a lot better off. I mean, you haven't learned French just yet, but I'm pretty sure you could probably find your way to being able to learn it too. It sounds like it might be a nicer place to trundle off to, don't you think?
Oh, but be careful. We can't retire at 62 anymore. At 64.
That's okay.
She's old.
can
It's
retire.
not going to matter.
That's what the protests were about.
And I don't blame them one bit for protesting that. I really don't.
No, I
Once
don't.
you start giving it up, they just start taking more and more and more and more.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's good to see people actually protesting.
Oh, TP Seeker makes a great point. How many people drove their car into the crowds and ran people over? Not counting the police, if the police did it.
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing how that works out.
Are you sure you had protesting going on there? Because it doesn't sound like the ones we have here in the U.S.
There's a lot of things.
Well, there's something called the Black Bloc movement, which is basically a bunch of hoodlums. Yeah, around lighting fires and stuff like that. There's a fair amount of vandalism, but that's about it.
Yeah, but you see down here when there's vandalism, they start shooting people.
Well, I can get away with saying this. We're a special kind of stupid in the country.
I was just going to go with racist because if it's a white person shooting black people, they get canonized.
Well, you know, in the U.S., one's feelings is equivalent to it's self-defense. So if your feelings are hurt, you have every right to fire back.
Yeah.
I mean, stand your ground,
Yeah,
and
just like that
maintain
old guy
that.
who shot the 14-year-old for playing hide and seek and trespassing on his yard.
Yeah.
And he was surprised. He was surprised that the kid got injured by the bullet he shot at them.
Yeah. The other snarky thing that I need to point out for folks who may or may not have already known about it, if you have access to 3D printers, and there are a number of public libraries where you can actually borrow, might be the best way of putting it, a 3D printer, sometimes at the low cost of whatever materials were utilized. You can get and print off of a 3D printer a specialized cone design that if there were let's say a smoke grenade of some form or other, maybe a noxious smoke grenade, that you'd be able to cover said grenade onto the ground and have an opening at the top that would screw on a 1 liter bottle of water that you could then squeeze into it in order to flood and disable said smoke or noxious smoke container. So keep that in mind, folks, that if you ever need to go ahead and have use of such a device, you can always print one for yourself. So just out there and look for it for yourself. And all you wonderful folks out over there who are making 3D sculpts, whatnot for the general public, we salute you. Thank you. Y'all did know about that though, right? That these 3D print plans are out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of 3D print plans out there, depending on what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's true. And
but then again, so is the Anarchist Cookbook. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but that one's usually not. That's neither here nor there. And Seekers, unfortunately, pointing out a good point. Good luck on finding a precious library that hasn't closed yet. It is getting a little bit more difficult out here.
There's one down by me that just opened. Yeah, the
Alrighty
grocery
then.
store went bunk. It's a long story. And we ended up getting our own library taking over. They don't have a 3D printer, but they do have Wi-Fi and internet access and such.
That helps.
Mm-hmm.
That helps. So I don't want to cover much else in the violent area.
So we're not covering politics then?
There's one one report that I want to say about very briefly. I'm not using this as a platform for all of us to kind of onto, really, but there was I don't remember what day it was, but there was a school shooting here in the U.S. I know those of us that are kind of hard pressed not to say, well, it's kind of hard to decide what the hell day you're talking about. Where one of the first responders at this school said that he went to help a little student and finally got over to them. And if I remember the words correctly from the report, said she had no face. We're not going to go into this because there is no way in hell any of us should ever have to have heard those words. It should never have needed to have been on the news cycle. I will just say, for the collectiveness of us all, anybody that hears that report and chooses to do nothing with the power that they have to prevent that from ever happening again is a monster, the likes of which free society should not allow to continue having the ability to do something, choosing not to. I don't care if you've got kids. I do. I cannot imagine the life, what these parents had to have gone through. I know I'm shutting off talking about this particular item, but I just wanted to make sure that we know this happened. We know this report happened. And we will acknowledge that it happened. But ain't no way in hell we're gonna delve into that any further than that. Anything that people can do that from it, please do whatever you can do to help this never. I know, I just ground this whole damn thing to a halt here, and I apologize, but I knew full well this was going to end up on my head for the rest of the night if I didn't get it.
You know, in Florida, you won't have to worry about shootings anymore. Not really. Not if you have enough doctors that are of the conservative right and all that, and enough nurses, laboratory technicians, EMTs, ambulance drivers, emergency helicopter pilots, and so on. Even organ transportation driver, because on the 11th of May, Governor DeSatan signed into law some legislation that basically what it does, in plain layman's terms, if you're of anybody in the medical field or even related, to the field. As long as you put down your objections on paper in advance, as long as you turn away people in advance, you don't trick them into coming in for an operation, then say, oh, can't do it because, whatever. You have to, there's basically an advance notice kind of thing. You don't have to treat people who you disagree with them on their lifestyle or choices or whatever because of sincerely held religious beliefs, your personal morals, or your personal ethics. And it doesn't go on to define what morals and ethics are. It just leaves it in there, right? So literally, I could be a doctor in Florida and put down on paper, I refuse to treat all people who identify as Republicans. Now you could come in, your arm's missing, you're bleeding out, you're dying on the floor. I'm the only doctor who can operate and save your life. And I find out you're a Republican. I can walk away, let you bleed out and die, and your family can't sue me. I mean, you can try, but you will fail because the document specifically says I have the right to refuse treatment. All treatment. More importantly, if your insurance says something to the effect of, we don't cover surgery for Republicans, even if you're paying into our plan, and you go to the hospital and you do find a doctor who, reattaches that arm and saves your life, your insurance company goes, we found out you're a Republican, and according to our bylines, we don't cover Republicans. Guess what? You're going to pay the full foot of the bill yourself. Have a nice day. Yeah. And the reason why I'm using Republicans as an example is because a lot of these people who hate the LGBTQ plus community identify as Republicans or conservatives or so on. And I'm using this because when this bill was put into place, they never thought it would be used against them. See, it doesn't say specifically right to refuse treatment to trans people or right to refuse treatment to any member of the LGBTQ. I'm sorry, I have a hard time saying it. Please forgive me. But of that community. And they don't think it's going to be used against them. But they forget doctors come from all walks of life. And if we start seeing a lot of people dying and a lot of insurance companies not covering people out in Florida, mind you, because of this, there's eventually going to be doctors who fight back. And that legislation protects all those people, the doctors, the nurses, and such. It's going to get Florida. I don't think will ever change because somebody made a really good point in the comment section of where the article was posted. One of the articles was posted, and that is Florida every year has a constant or even increasing stream of retirees. People who are set in their ways, set in their mindset, and will not be convinced to change. Basically, they're too old to change, or they're too set in their ways. The whole adage about not being able to teach an old dog new tricks. Now, obviously, that doesn't hold true for everybody, because
not critical thinkers.
Yeah, but exactly. If you're not a critical thinker, you're probably not going to have your mind changed. And there's a lot of people headed to Florida, to retire in the warmth and weather and all that stuff, who agree with the Satan and so on.
What I was going to ask, Brigid, because you would know a little bit better. You've corrected us before, me especially, that the romanticized part about the medical community, about the whole taking the Hippocratic oath, so to speak, we know full well that that's just a romanticized idea of it all. But the idea of these individuals or even these medical insurance groups saying, yeah, you're part of an at-risk group, we're not going to fix you, we're not going to insure you. I hadn't heard anything about that, but knowing how people, especially young people, young male people, getting their first cars can be put into incredibly high auto insurance groups because they are an at-risk group at that point. Is this something that you know anything about or could see it as being a real thing?
This is the first I've heard of it. I mean, other than, Catholic hospitals turning people away, for
Yeah, that's a whole other ball right there.
Yeah, there's 4 different bills that he signed into law, and like one of them, for example, is it allows it prohibits businesses and governmental entities and from requiring basically people to provide a proof of vaccination or recovery information from any disease, it just says any disease, to gain access to or um, gain service or go into such facilities. It's like, yeah, so okay, you have a ward of immunocompromised people on and suddenly you don't have to prove that, oh yeah, you've had your vaccinations. You can just that's a bad thing.
well, yeah. I mean, think about people that are, undergoing transplants and things.
Funny you should say that because I'm suddenly thinking to myself, people like, well, my wife had a mastectomy and might have had a double. Women who have breast reduction or enhancement or reconstruction. What if there is a group that says, especially like hardline Catholic group, who might say that, yeah, we're not gonna perform that because, well, that's changing the way that you were made, or it's for something that's not life necessary, or we just don't want to do it because it's icky.
It's so Sierra Bravo or SB 1580. It allows that medical health providers to not be held liable in any kind of civil case if they turn away patients on, conscious, their religious, moral, or ethical grounds.
Him to know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll kind of bypass that one for now. Get a little bit of a better feel on this one.
I mean, it did point out that the article, and I posted it in chat, did point out that part of the bill does say that it cannot, somebody can't opt out of providing service to somebody because of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. And the Democrats try to get that broadened to include disability, gender identity, sexuality, and marital status. But all those edits got blocked. Yeah, absolutely blocked.
All right, we'll leave that aside for a second. Wanna kind of bring something over to you, Joseph, because the story that ended up popping up recently it's fun, even though it's kind of localized, and that's my recollection. Doesn't exactly have a similar thing in France, or actually in Europe in general, if I remember correctly. There was yet again another school here in on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, as I recall, where the after school Satan Club had to go ahead and take a school district to court and proved that they were being doo-doo heads, trying to stop them from having the After School Satan Club, and they got reinstituted. And look at that, they had their first meeting, had a half dozen kids come in, and the sky didn't come falling, and brimstone didn't bubble up out of the ground, and the universe keeps turning on its pinwheel, and nothing bad happened. And wow, look at that. So I figured I'd give you an opportunity over here because, like I said, after school Satan clubs, I don't think are a thing that exist even over there. But I figured you might have a good laugh and have a little bit of insight as far as to, wow, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but have a good laugh.
Yeah, the idea here would just get you a lot of funny looks. I mean, when Aaron Rock came over, I was hard pressed to find even an atheist organization or anything like that. I mean, it's just the concept. You know, if you just even if you take two, it doesn't take more than two neurons to find it ridiculous. I mean, because basically, both clubs are Christianism. You've just got one worshiping an imaginary friend who's not a friend, and the other one, preaching the imaginary enemy, and it's all from the same source.
Yeah, the idea of organized atheism in Europe in general. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it until just right now. That seems like you said, you know, it's like, why do you even need it? You don't even need it. It's not even a concept that makes any.
No, but it's just the older generations. I mean, Catholicism here is pretty ingrained into family life, but it has almost no political foothold at all here, at all. And I mean, critical thought is pretty rampant here. I mean, like, I really.
Jesus and guns?
Sorry, what?
You mean the people there in France don't focus on Jesus and guns like God-loving Americans do?
Neat. And I'd really like to see the argument. I mean, just the very concept of atheism. It's a religious concept. It's a religious language. So if we make the discussion about autonomous thought, is that even a word? Autonomous?
Sure.
Autonomous.
Yes.
Autonomous? Autonomous
Yes.
thought.
Either way works.
Independent
Both
thought.
ways.
Decide for yourself, and then we decide together. But learn to decide for yourself first. If we look at things through that perspective, you're just going to find that just the concept of religion and their concept of atheism, it's just part of not thinking critically. I mean, there's so many things you can apply to people who do not think critically, who do not think for themselves, who follow blindly. I mean, you know, even most of the influencers and things like that, that's part of it too, huh? This is basically, you know, people hired to dangle things in front of people who won't even consider any other option than what they're shown because, well, they never learned to, or maybe not even had any motivation to. So when people learn, so, you know, the French are known for being pretty individualist. So,
Thanks, man.
is that a cat? Was that a snore or a cat?
It was a cat, sorry.
A cat snore.
She's decided now is time for snuggles.
On camera. Live snuggles. Okay.
So
Yeah, all I'm saying is people people think critically here, and that's also why you have protests. That's why you have people in the street.
Yeah, that's probably a good piece to have at this.
Like,
You know,
try setting up a free speech zone here. Watch what happens.
well, I would imagine that it would be kind of the same kind of thing, where the conceptually, it would be very much of the why do you even need this? This is just part of how everything is. Yeah, of course we're gonna speak, because what are we not going to? I mean,
It's kind of freedom of speech. I mean, true freedom of speech is a double-edged sword. It really does allow for the wicked, the deceitful, the liars, and the cheats to use it as a weapon successfully against people who are honest. They tend to mind their own, live and let live attitudes tend to lose out. And we're seeing it. Now, the other side of the argument is, well, if you're going to limit speech, well, what can you limit? How do you know that you're not getting repressed? You know, how do you know that you're not taking the person who lives and let lives and are actually damaging what they have to say? And that's where society has to get involved. And this is the hard part. Society has to get involved and come to a general consensus of, look, we understand the right to say things, but we also understand that certain things are very, very harmful. Running into a theater and yelling bomb has been determined, or yelling fire even,
Oh, but
has
that's
been
no free
determined
speech.
to be very, very dangerous to human health. People have died because of that crap. That's why if you do it in America, you will go to jail. You
Yeah,
might even.
that's not quite free speech. And
But
also
that's how some people take it.
consider the question that the target of the extreme right are people who would have control over others, who would decide for others instead of letting them decide for themselves. Their target are, again, non-critical thinkers and people who are actually affected by words. Because, I mean, people that don't think for themselves. If you hear somebody, railing against another ethnic group or something like that, which is just a self-fulfilling prophecy, anyways. Are we just going to blindly follow? Are we going to accept it? No, not critical thinkers. And this is the thing: as long as the blindly following populace is there, well, these would-be fascists, they have a target group. And it's unfortunate to say, but I think a lot of quote-unquote adults today, they're quite happy having other people decide for them what's good or not. They just live in their comfortable bubble of ignorance and just, while they fear everything outside of it because they haven't learned to judge the real value of anything for themselves. They've always depended on somebody else to decide for them. So somebody speaking publicly, like here in France, if somebody stood on a street corner and did Nazi propaganda or something like that, they'd be well, there are quite strict laws against that here, because France does have a past. But it would, for sure, they would be shouted down. It's unacceptable. That's all. And if a university invites somebody to speak, even if they're the extreme right and all that, you're going to have a good lot of the student population that they'd probably protest it outside, but they'd still let it go on.
Yeah. We don't have too much longer, but there's a piece about this that I want to have you kind of follow through with a little further, because I just thought about it. We've talked so many times, and you especially talked so many times about what it means to have autonomous thought, to be an independent, rational thinker about concepts and propositions. And it just popped into my head how I'm not going to be using the right word, because conceptually I'm not using the right word, but I'm the word that I want to use is probably too, I'm going to say highbrow. It's got too many syllables to it, and honestly, I'm getting a little bit too tired to be able to properly pronounce it. There is a piece that is so completely against our grain, us meaning collectively the rationalists, the free thinkers, the people who are critically examine stuff, that we do not allow ourselves to be easily manipulated. That there is a piece about us that, God, I had the right conceptual thing in my head, and I'm trying to go with it. The people who end up following so much, who have been duped into believing stuff that is just wrong, roped into conspiracy theories, believing in the Italian space lasers bouncing counting machine voting booth information off of servers in Germany or whatever the hell this, that there is a particular segment of society that keeps looking for the next influence, the next hit of, I don't want to say it this way, but the next hit of stupid. The same way that we want to have more dopamine, more feel-good chemicals in our heads because we interact with people in a good way, that there is a similar thing that ends up happening with these people who are in whatever various cults, that they just keep needing to get hit with another and another and another. And that is very much something that, from all of what we've had, from what you've said, in France especially, that simply is not a segment of population that has anything even close to the numbers that what we would have over here in the States. And
No.
you guys are so much better off, and I wish I understood even why that.
Well, we could have a discussion about that, because there is a lot of survived by mutation going on here, but it's on a complete different level, and it's held in check. Those who would be like that they're a minority, I think, in the population.
And the problem is, it's such an incredibly vocal minority in this country. Although the minority for us over here is not nearly as low as I would like. Before you go ahead, Seeker is commenting, they're turning the frogs. Yeah, I know where you're going. I know where you're going. The more money he ends up paying out, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Believe that. But yeah, it I didn't realize it until just just a little bit ago, just just tonight now. We have a population that just keeps wanting to get that. Like I said, it's like having a drug habit. You want to get more interactions, and you guys don't need that.
There's one thing you brought up earlier. You were talking about concepts, but somebody who's not learned to think critically, to analyze to any extremity, given situations, or when somebody's making a pull of something, to be able to analyze it, see, to have a bullshit detector. Everything to someone like that is a concept, because they don't attach it to reality. Which is why when you see flat earthers or people who are against the lunar landing and all that, saying all of the Apollo missions were bullshit, and there seems to be a resurgency of that recently. The first question I want to ask is, how does that affect you? Whether it happened or it doesn't. I mean, why is it so important to you? Because these people seem to be, it seems to be like almost a question of survival. It seems to be on this level of importance, the same level of importance as survival. It seems to affect them on that level. People they seem to be in fear for their lives. I mean, it's not quite that. Maybe the fear is not there in all circumstances, but I mean, they consider this belief to be a life decision that affects their lives. They think it's important for their lives, for their livelihood, that they believe this or disbelieve this. But yet, if you ask them the question, well, how does this affect you? What difference would it make, whether this existed or not? Now, how does it affect your survival? Why are you so concerned about this? I don't think you'd be able to get a straight answer. And it's possible that people like this don't even know themselves why they behave this way. It's like I said so many times in the past, the best question somebody can ask themselves is, why did I think what I just thought?
That makes for an interesting question. I'm gonna,
that right there, that why did I just think what I thought? That's part of the concept of being aware, being what woke is. And it's one of the reasons why you have so many people within the movement, various religious movements and conservative movements, trying to prevent "quote unquote" wokeism. What they're really trying to prevent is they're trying to prevent critical thinking skills, the ability, developing the ability to analyze your own thoughts and go, maybe that was inappropriate of me to think that. Maybe it's inappropriate to think that trans people are not real people. Maybe it's inappropriate of me to say the N word. Maybe it's inappropriate of me to refer to a gay person as a fag or other nasty language. Maybe I shouldn't use nasty language. Maybe because, whatever. Or maybe I should use it properly in context, the way you might when you're referencing certain kinds of literature, right? And so on.
That's another great point, though. That another life affecting. How does what somebody else does in their own home with the consenting someone else? How would that affect someone else. I mean, this fear of different and all this, which brings us back again to critical thought. Anybody who thinks about it for like 2 seconds, it makes no sense.
It does make sense when you look at religion. When you look at religion, religions notoriously don't want people thinking for themselves.
Oh
They
no,
want them to
but
be-
I mean the idea of disliking somebody just because they're different, that
and also
that they're not a mirror imitation of yourself.
part of that is a little bit instinctual. Back
Yeah,
when we
but
were
that could be
tribal
over.
and such.
But that's just it. Because I mean, we're born with a set of very instinctual tools, and unfortunately, our history is not that long. We haven't had time to evolve, but like evolve, like to be born. We've got we're born with a set of very considered by today's society very bad instincts. Like men tend to be, yeah, well, you don't want to be in the head of an adolescent male, but or in the body. I mean, but we do have the ability to think critically, and I mean, this is what puts it. We were given this ability, not given this ability. We developed this ability to have certain advantages over. I think humans were in the past quite well. They were bastards actually, but still, critical thinking is a tool. We use this to outwit other tribes or whatever. But once we have a tool, we don't always have to use it to that end. We have the tool, the ability to think critically, and we have the science that demonstrates that critical thought leads to neuroplasticity, which means basically suppressing and bypassing even certain basic wiring that we're born with. I mean, this is why the mullahs they would rather put women in bags than have people think critically for themselves and like just to overcome their own damn hormones.
And
I don't know if that was clear or not.
no, it makes sense, and we're kind of running up. I'm running out of steam, so running out of time. But I think what Tech said before about how it makes perfect sense in the realm of religion makes sense, because any nonconformity to such an
That's it.
to such an
Let him finish.
insular
Yeah.
group, even passively, because learning can be done passively through just observation, has the ability of breaking down the walls, the barriers, the indoctrination, the muscle memory or the mental memory. The trained reflex responses, I think is the best way to put it. And anything that goes against that, again, even from outside, that can be seen, is a threat to keeping that control. And I think that's a good portion of why there's so many different pieces where theocratic rules keep trying to be put into place in my country. Exactly that. If you've got something really quick to go along with that, Joseph, I'll give you a couple of seconds. But like I said, really running out of steam. I gotta really.
Yeah, well, you just said it there. Just the two words to retain from all that is conformity, control.
Yeah.
I mean, today's economy, religion, economy, it depends on a survive by imitation populace. non-critical thought. That's it.
Fair enough. Tech, you got anything really quick last?
I'm good. Let it go.
Uh,
No, I don't mean let the conversation go. I mean, let the.
And
I
don't
got
start
you.
singing. Don't
I
start
don't
singing.
need
And
to.
don't start singing Frozen.
No, I won't. What I meant, but I abbreviated incredibly short to let it go. Was no. I think there's no need to add and compound on to the end of any of the statements.
Brigid, I know it's been really, really little for getting you in the last half of everything, but you got anything left over to drop in, or did I have you fall asleep on us?
Well, I ran out of steam a long time ago.
So nothing left over for you, or
No, I think DeSantis is evil.
well,
That's pretty obvious.
what an incredibly bold statement for you to use that pretty well accepted. Teasing just a little bit. Okay. Like I said, yeah, I'm really, really pulling up short right about now. So we need to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Really hope that you had yourself a good time. You got something to think about for the week ahead. Think about stuff. Over in the chat, by the way, I did get some kind of an error message from YouTube earlier. I don't know why. Everything on my side looked good, but I was getting some kind of a weird error from YouTube that seemed to have corrected itself, so whatever. So over in the live chat, Stephanie, Seeker, Felis, guys, thank you. Hope you have yourselves a good week ahead. I'm expecting I'll be back again with us all for next week, because if things work out correctly, next week is another Power at 10, so, go us. Joseph, so glad you were able to make it back again. Like I said, do see you pop in every once in a while on social. So, I knew you were relatively okay because I didn't see anything burning down, so to speak. But it's good to be able to have you with us for a little bit, man. You take good care of yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Yeah, and sorry. Yeah, well, I'll explain to you later.
Not a worry. Like full well, man. Voluntary time. You're here when you're here. You're not when you're not. And so long as I know that you're okay, that's all that matters.
I want my money back.
You're gonna have all $0 of it back. Unless you take it as a check.
Yeah. In fact, I want everybody's money back.
You know what? We'll just get the plot of Superman 3 in place, and we'll get you every shaved penny out your way.
Or Fight Club.
We'll
That was kind of sort of the concept of Fight Club.
never seen it, so I don't know.
Oh, dude!
Don't start with me. Don't start with me. I had Felis and Roxy have me watch Heavy Metal today. I still don't understand what the hell the point of the whole damn thing was, and I will die on this hill because I'm about to fall over, passed out, asleep on this hill. So I don't want to hear shit about it.
By the way, fair enough. There is a Heavy Metal 2000, which has the B movie queen Julie Strain. In fact, the artwork was done to reflect the actual body type of Julie Strain and how tall she is as a person. There's a storyline for that one, if that's easier to follow.
If you're telling me there's a Heavy Metal 2000, all I'm hearing in my head after whatever this fever dream was that I voluntarily watched is it's got a good naming convention. I mean, how bad could it be? What other movies could have possibly had such a similar naming convention? Blues Brothers 2000. You're not making me want to watch that movie either.
Okay. Well, let me do this for you in your fever dream.
Quickly.
Really short. What you watched was an anthology.
I got that.
Okay. And it can all be summed up in one phrase of five little words. The sum of all evil. That's it.
I was following that. It still didn't make any sense. It still doesn't make.
Okay.
Thank you for all that you've done for me this week.
You're very welcome.
And I'm glad you're able to make it. You take care of yourself. Huh?
Yeah, you take care of yourself too. And you got my number. Call me if you need me.
Oh, I'm sure I'll never do that again.
Baloney. You better call me if you need anything.
See, he says baloney. We all know it's spelled Bologna. Speaking of processed meat, Brigid,
that sounds so wrong.
yeah, but I mean, it's funny as hell. So I'm allowed to get away with it because it's me. I'm going with that. I don't care. I've got coffee waiting for tomorrow. So I don't. Hey, Brigid. Guess what time it is?
This week it's going to go to CNN. What the thing?
You know, you cut out because Discord, but you know what? The point kind of comes across anyway. Yeah. Did you basically just say, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah,
That's what I thought you were trying to say. It just didn't come across because Discord's stupid.
I didn't watch it, but come on.
Neither did I. And I'm right there with you. Hey, you know, we missed last week, so I'll give you a second to drop in.
I don't have a second one. I didn't think of one.
So how about we just hit CNN twice because they should know.
Yeah, they should know better.
That's fair. That's fair. Call it a night, and thank you everybody for being with us. If you'd like to take a swing over to the website to get the audio version of the show or get all of our contact info, holycrapthevlogcast.com. More than happy to have you over there. And of course, the phone number, if you'd like to hit us up, 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. One of these days, I'm actually going to do it purely on muscle memory without looking at without looking at the card over there. So yeah, we'll see if that happens one of these days. Not tonight because I'm tired. Like I said, I've had a week. I've got let me just double check the calendar because I'm okay, so it's gonna be next week. I can talk about that later. For right now, just please be safe. Take care of yourselves. Here in the US and Canada, I think it is, Mother's Day. So, you all who don't think that you are, you can be mothers as far as I'm concerned too. Which then brings us all the way back around to Samuel L. Jackson to kind of wrap us back around a big circle and cover that again because it's time to go now. Right about now, Tech is probably just shaking his head going, I know, don't do that yet. But till next week, again, just thank you. I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've wish you will. And my lady, it is coming up on 18 years. A little later this month. I am and have always been in love. Not today, Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always. It's next week. It's an hour of 10 episode. Good night.